quite according to plan. Complications arose, ensued, were overcome.
I think anytime you come into a movie that you feel has the ability to extend its life, that the characters are so interesting that you could create more stories about them and embellish their characters, you want to make more.
The audience thinks the compass is broken. There's no scene that says, Jack knows it points to Elizabeth.
We kind of put everything we could think of into the first one, so when they said, hey, we'd like a sequel, we're kind of going, what do we do for a sequel?
But I think the fun of the first one is that it creates this very interesting world, and that audiences wanted to see more of that world.
It's feeling like day 41. There's only 189 days left. And stamina is declining.
They started talking about the sequel, and you know, we were all very excited about it. And then they said, okay, well, let's do two of them back to back. I said, no, please, I beg you, let's not do two of them back to back.
Okay, red light now, quiet on stage, please. Here we go.
The main reason is to keep the talent together, and that's hard because every one of them has a superstar career. Everybody wants them, they're really highly sought after. And to bring them back and do a continuation of these characters is expensive. And there are a lot of other directors that are chasing the same talent.
Everything's going exactly according to plan.
Fantastic, just as planned.
Everything's moving according to plan.
It's fantastic. We had a little bit of a hiccup, but you know, basically we're on track and everything's going pretty much according to plan.
What's your name, sir? Thank you.
Garofalo.
And what are you getting today?
I want this one. And typhoid, I believe. I'm getting shots. Boo hiss. I hate shots. I really do. I don't like needles.
We're getting the shots because we're going to St. Vincent, Dominica, Zumas, the Grand Bahamas, and we gotta be ready.
This time around, it's a road movie. Unlike the first movie that shot mostly in Los Angeles. And being a road movie, now we have settled on not only St. Vincent, but Dominica, which is a few islands north of St. Vincent in the chain, in the Lesser Antilles. It's a great island, very lush, very remote. And it'll be interesting to see when we show up with 400 of our closest friends on the logistics on that island.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
And in the process of the tank aspect of the picture, it turns out there was a production entity starting to build a facility in the Bahamas for a studio. Nobody's going to come necessarily to the Bahamas for stages, but they would come for a tank.
Okay, Buck, so what day of principal photography is it?
Well, this is the greatest day of our lives this year.
Today is day 1 of 200 days of Pirates of the Caribbean.
One of 200 or plus.
Well, today, believe it or not, is the first day of production. Hallelujah. We've made it. We could have prepped for another year and still wouldn't have been any more ready or better prepared than we are. And I think most production departments would like more prep time because, you know, you only get one chance at prep. But in our case, we needed to go.
Kevin, a little bit to your right. Yeah.
Talk to me in, 12 weeks. We'll see how we're doing.
It's gonna be some hard ones, but it's how to pace yourself. Let's talk on day 200.
It's a good way to start here in LA because rather than sort of kick off, get on a charter, leave home, and oh my God, we're in the third world country and we're starting. So it gets everyone together. You start to gel, you start working together again, and that way you go off and you've got some work under your belt. You're on a roll already.
200 days of filming is a lot. It's almost, it's almost 2/3 of a year, so it's a lot of work.
But that's okay, we all love each other. We love each other, and it's gonna be good.
It's been amazing on every level. Certainly with the cast, having all the cast, the original cast back has been incredible. But as well, having the majority of the same crew from one, because we were on that film for such a long time. It was really quite a big shoot. So you get very, very close. You become kind of like this sort of weird gypsy family, a circus, a traveling circus.
on St. Vincent, it was exactly the same as last time, which was very confusing when we all got back there and thought we really haven't left. We really have been doing this for the last 2 years and never stopped.
Full sound. Background action.
There was a feeling like, did I just finish the last movie last night and I've just been to sleep and I'm coming back in? It was exactly the same. The set that we'd left extraordinarily survived 3 hurricanes. Goes to say a lot for Hollywood set builders.
The art department construction for Pirates 1 did an enormous amount of construction here. One of the reasons we're here is that we have so much infrastructure here to begin with. And it is the perfect place to shoot Port Royal. Over the course of time, the weather has had its toll on a lot of elements. Our dock over there collapsed in a giant swell right before the director's scout in December. So we were frantically trying to rebuild that. And it looks a little bit different, but pretty much it's the look of the first Pirates.
I think about to here. The other ship.
Okay.
Like that.
We felt it important that we start our P2 there. It was the place where the first film took place, Port Royal, and so that really gives us a sense of where we are in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, here we go, stand by. Hook out of the water, raise the hook out of the water. Okay, get the hatch, just raise it out of the water so it doesn't sink. Raise it out, pull it out. Okay, now drop it into the water. Take it, raise the hook out of the water. We're rolling. And action, everyone.
Yes, we're back on the water. It's good to be back.
Everything's going exactly according to plan.
It's the toughest thing to do in film production is shooting on water. It's never the same. The boat's constantly moving.
Well, it's just kind of
my boys
like
and girls
standing on marbles
over there. We'll take it to them.
Everything keeps changing.
Just hand that to you and I'll come and get it.
You know, right when you line it up, everything moves. Everything's
We're going to the fishing boat.
Constantly in flux.
And take the water.
Hey, Will, you're going to be losing that bow line pretty soon, right?
Yeah, pretty soon. I almost want to just give it to Providence, right?
Big challenges in St. Vincent. We only had 4 background tall ships. And we had this Beckett's office set, and looking out the window, well, Gore would say, well, I want background here or here. So we were constantly having to move the boats around, having to shut them down, having to start them up. You guys have to wait. You have to go here. You have to go there. I mean, we had boats that were painted different colors on different sides so we could turn them a different way and it would be a new ship doing something else. It's going okay. 2 boats that don't have motors, though, so it makes it a little more challenging as you're tugboating everything around. And then we have a lighting barge as well to get that locked off in the perfect position. And then we have water transpo going the whole time, so it's kind of busy in the harbor right now. We're just trying to keep it safe and not run into anything. We have mooring lines all over the place, too, so a lot of stuff to keep track of.
And so we're on the 17th hour of our day, and we're still trying to kill bilge pumps on boats to get the shot. We haven't got a shot off tonight, and we have 10 to go.
Making these movies look as beautiful as the first one, it's all about positioning boats for the right light and getting sails full, so that means in the right wind.
Well, like everything on this movie, it's clockwork, precision. The water is moving and cameras are moving. It's precision filmmaking at its finest. The boat is moving and light is moving. It's perfection. And the wind is moving. Everything is moving. We need to find a flaw because otherwise we might insult the gods, and we don't want to do that.
We're not doing as much about work here in the Caribbean because it's stuff that needs to be in overcast weather, in the rain, on a gimbal. So we've taken all our boat work to the Bahamas into the tank.
Just in the water, hold it up. So when the hurricane comes, it wouldn't blow away the sun. So easy.
I think there's nothing stronger than the joke of the head being left behind. Like, the headless guy holding the chest maybe thinks he's holding the head. You know, it's like he doesn't know he's holding the thing.
Plus everybody else goes and he runs away. They laugh and they all leave. And the headless guys.
We figured that if we were going to write a script that made the crew come out and spend, 10 weeks in paradise, it was our obligation to be there with them the whole time.
Barbosa's original plan
I don't think, was to be on a ship.
There's also the interesting fact that we're shooting both Pirates 2 and Pirates 3 at the same time, and we haven't finished the Pirate 3 script yet. So I think it's sort of like, and let's keep them close by and away from any distractions and where we can monitor them at all times.
I think Barbosa would have the same thought process.
Barbosa's thinking, no, I've done you a good deed.
We know the story. We have the story nailed down. So really what we're talking about is, well, what's the dramatization of the story moments? And I know it's nerve-wracking for the studio and for the producers and everybody else to actually be shooting a scene without having the entirety of the script in place. But that's pretty much how Terry and I work anyhow.
We also spoke a little bit about the power in performance of ambiguity. I guess it's not something you want to lean on a whole lot, but it could work.
That's what we tell the actors anyway. It'll improve your performance not to know what the hell you're doing. Trust us.
It could work for you. You never know.
You're all instinct anyway.
Okay, so we can make those changes. Put it down. Right.
Well, anytime you make a movie, it's a challenge. But when you try to prepare two movies back to back, that's a serious challenge. You just don't get the kind of preparation time that you need for the second movie, let alone the third movie, because you got to worry about what you're shooting. All he has to say to her is I lived up to my bargain.
Yeah, our deal is done.
Our deal is done. When you finish 2, 3 becomes, where's our prep time? What happened? It's all gone. And it causes, sometimes production delays, but hopefully that won't happen to us.
Hey, just pass on to Pizza Green. There's a lot of debris floating around in there, just so he knows.
I showed up for my first day on this job, and they said, okay, we have this shot we need you to do. There's these coffins being dropped off a cliff. I had to go into the water and shoot from the water side, coffins being dropped from a cliff, but there were 20-foot waves smashing into the cliff and sending water literally 50 feet up into the sky. I had 2 safety divers looking out behind me for big sets of waves coming, and we literally had to stop filming, turn around and duck dive our cameras through these giant swells that could have just tossed us right onto the cliff. Gore has gotten very interested in exploring the interface of where water and air meet. He wants the audience to feel like they're right down there at water level, where the water is flowing, and there's a lot of water flowing in the Caribbean.
Since 3 a.m.
Well, since 3 a.m. I've been standing in the port, soaking wet in the rain, sweating like a pig, loading this boat. But we're about got it, and I'd say by 6:30 we'll be out of here. St. Vincent to Dominica, we're sea, land, and air. We're putting all the rolling stock, the boats, and all the containers on this ship. It's about a 10-hour boat cruise over there. I'm going to ride the boat over. The fellas will be there at, let's say, 3 a.m. to unload. I would say right here we have 225 pieces of equipment that, trucks, cars, things that roll around. Literally, these ships that we're loading are 600-foot long freighter ships, and we're loading them to the point where, I'm not exaggerating, you couldn't get a motorcycle on. I mean, that's how tight we are on all of our vessels. You can't, literally 1 inch between trucks and walking over lashing. I think the hours are getting tough and the travel times are tough. I think it's more of an exercise in sleep deprivation. That's the biggest challenge, is keeping your crew rested and being safe. But you always feel good if you do the right things and you get through it, no one gets hurt, and you get there on time. And it's, like any job, if you do it well, you're satisfied. So you just hope you do the best you can.
Goodbye, St. Vincent. Bye, St. Vincent.
We are at the airport in St. Vincent, and we are moving the crew, basically, from St. Vincent to Dominica, so we can start shooting over there.
Verbinski.
most people have never even heard of the country Dominica. Most people get confused with Dominican Republic. It's just untouched, and that's what Gore wanted in the film, a place that just had never been used, and it doesn't have a bunch of houses and telephone poles and, you know, human existence.
Dominica is very primitive. It's an eco-island. It's a gorgeous island. And it had the elements that were in the screenplay. It had the greenery that we wanted. It had the lushness of the jungle that we wanted.
It's the most beautiful island. I think it's got something, what is it, like 364 rivers and 14 waterfalls and, I mean, just hot springs and amazing. So naturally, it's absolutely stunning. But...
Originally, when they brought up Dominica, everybody said the exact same thing. Number one, you're insane. Number two, how are you going to shoot this? And number three, you're insane. It doesn't have the infrastructure for us. It's so big, it's so spread out. No matter where we shoot, somebody will have to drive at least 2 hours each way to work every day. It's very exciting. All these new people. I think we've just doubled the population.
We've had to build roads into places that, again, people have never shot. They're up mountainsides, down onto beaches.
A rational person would not go there. And not only are you going there, but you're going to bring 500 of your closest friends and hundreds of tons of equipment.
When I first came here, I brought on some local guys to help me facilitate all the things that we do here, just kind of be the local staff. And I tried to warn them of what was actually coming, and I tried to warn the government and tried to warn everybody, and everyone kind of gave lip service. Yeah, no problem, we're ready for it. And when the circus finally rolled into town, they were amazed. They said they could never fathom that it would be this big, this large, and this complicated to actually make a movie.
Welcome to the circus.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
I think it's the old adage, seeing is believing. And even though they hear and it registers in their mind that you're going to have over 50 rolling stock, 20 containers, and all the logistics, once they start to see it, I mean, we literally had a procession from one end of the island to the other of our equipment as it came out of the port to the north end of the island. And we have way too many people here for what the infrastructure can support.
It's completely undeveloped. And it's very rugged terrain, so it's very difficult to move around. And again, no hotel, very few hotels. People have to live on different islands. Hard enough making a movie when everyone lives right next to the location. You go to your location and shoot, but add in, 100 degrees. You can't get there. Everyone lives on different islands. It's extremely trying.
It's moving an army. There's 500 crew people working away between effects and animals, special effects and visual effects and stunts and extras and wardrobe. And there's the focus of what's happening in front of camera, and then just this massive circle of support that has to get us to that place. And it is a lot.
Truly, the Hollywood drivers, the good ones, are the best drivers around, because we go to places where trucks aren't supposed to go. We do it every day of our lives in LA. I mean, to us, if we have an inch on each side, we're good. An inch, we made it, right? Sometimes a quarter inch is good. We made it.
Growing up was easy.
Nothing to it.
Wait till we have to go down.
It takes a whole day to do it. And no matter what, it's a day to load and a half a day to unload. And you're lucky if no one gets killed and the back end of a truck doesn't get ripped off. It's amazing. I don't know of any place else, certainly in the United States, where we could have taken over the roads like we have. 90% of the time we park the whole company on the road, a 2-lane narrow road in the mountains, and then people go by 1 lane at a time.
Word on the street, stay out of the street. We've had 9 near-death experiences, 4 very close calls, and a piece of bamboo got run over.
The government, to my knowledge, never had a problem with it, and we really were fortunate. Otherwise, we'd have still been shooting. If we had to be, the equipment had to be as far away as the closest big soccer field, it wouldn't have worked.
The police have all worked with us really well to control the roads and control the traffic, and I think generally it's been moving the way that we planned on it. The only thing that caused some problems with the torrential rainstorms, and it seems like every time we move to a location, the first day we're there, it rains really hard and we end up tearing up the playing field that we park on.
We're not shooting. We're not shooting today, right now. It's raining. Yeah, it was blasting sunny yesterday when we scouted.
It's raining.
Again.
Every 10 or 15 minutes, it pours with rain here. The sky goes black, and we just have to wait under umbrellas until it goes away.
Whoa, whoa. Nice.
Weather's an issue, and we get a lot of rain that comes and goes. And right now, as I'm talking to you, it's about 240 degrees on the Venusian surface.
Now that the humidity's at 92%, it's even better. And I'm wearing a t-shirt. Look at the state of that.
I personally can't wait to stop sweating. I want to get home. I've been sweating now for 5 weeks. You know, I can't remember what it's like to be cold.
The coldest we've ever been on the island.
Fatigue is an issue, you know, in the heat, performing these things in the heat, in those heavy wardrobe. You know, they're wearing coats and wigs, and it's tough, real tough duty.
Yeah, only about 90. And now we have this gentle incline to walk up to lunch. Take a look at the roller coaster.
But this is all part of the pirate fitness program. You know, you don't need your gym membership. You just need to work on pirates. You just need to work on a Gore and Jerry film, and that will get you in great shape.
This is great. Who needs a gym?
You had to be fit on this film to get to and from the set alone. Forget the day's work, the 12 hours, the no sleep. Just to get to the locations was a workout.
It has been a very physical production, but it's all sort of in the spirit of the world of, you know, the pirate movie.
Pirates life for me.
When I say physical, I mean it's very present. The sets are all used to their full advantage, and there is some blue screen, of course, but a lot of it is actual, you know, action. It's real action.
Yeah, the wheel.
Okay, here we go. Set, let's roll sound.
We have this enormous sword fight on this huge wheel.
The running joke is Ted, Terry, and Gore are all going to be strapped into this wheel, and we're just going to send it off.
Well, today Johnny Depp's in the wheel, so everybody's a little bit cautious. So, no pressure. Life is good. I love the pressure. Gotta have pressure. If not, what fun is it?
It was such an absurd and such a bizarre request for one grown man to ask of another, you know. Okay, what we'd like to do now is, bind you inside the wheel and give you a sword, and we're going to tether the other guy in, and you guys are going to fight as the wheel is rolling. You're going to go upside down like several times.
Spent a lot of money to try to feel like that over years.
Nothing they could ask would surprise me anymore, you know. Johnny, we're going to put you in a cannon and vault you out to sea. You okay with that? Sure. Let's do it.
Let's hear it for Captain Jack.
We spent many days harnessed on the inside of a wheel, just like doing crazy fights going up and down and round and round. I mean, it would make a really fun sort of ride in an amusement park if it weren't so uncomfortable.
I wouldn't really try that, huh? Let's roll camera, let's roll the wheel, and action!
Upside down, roll way up, upside down, roll, which is always good after lunch, I found. And it's pretty demanding on a body that isn't designed to do that. But, you know, one of the brilliant things that Gore's trying to do and is getting is us like this, upside down with the veins on our forehead sticking out, going round and round and round, or running around on the top of the wheel, or whatever it is. If you can get those pieces in, then obviously the audience's suspension of disbelief becomes much more extended because they stay in it rather than going, oh, look at that effect.
Cut it! Cut! Check the gate! Cut!
Nicely done. Nicely done. Gore has a saying, which is that CG is not a verb, because often people will say, don't worry about it, just CG it. And part of the implication of that is that you can't just do anything with CG. CG has to be used, you know, in the right way at the right time, intercut with and building on live action that basically sells to the audience's eye that you really are there. And we're delivering to the audience the real thing on the real locations where this stuff would have actually taken place.
Having said I've forgotten what it's like to be cold, Pirates of the Caribbean always has a way of granting your every wish. So we had a scene where when the cage drops, we fall into this this lagoon.
T2 board, see that opening right there?
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Gore and I fell in love with this place when we saw it. We actually saw it driving on Scout on one of those like folders, you know, like one of those Welcome to Dominica tourist folders. You know, you go to see all these girls and they're, oh, what is that? And it drives, oh, it's up there in the mountains. Let's go check it out.
It was in the rainforest, and it actually is a gorge with a waterfall at the end of it. It was probably 100 feet long, and it kind of serpentine passage. You know, it was dark, and it had trees and the rainforest over. It was, you know, breathtaking location.
You know, that's where the name Gorgeous is coming from, because it is really gorgeous.
It was a very hot day. We all jumped in our bathing suits and found it very refreshing. Little did we think that we would be back and shooting in it for 2 full days and find it less than refreshing.
It's strange to come to the Caribbean and freeze.
That water had to be about 40 degrees. Not much over 32. It was close to being freezing. It warmed up through the day, but we don't really want to talk about why the water was getting warmer. Yeah, really cold.
So there we were swimming, people pushing equipment on rubber rafts. Poor Marty, we would have to carry him or swim him in by rubber raft because, again, the water's deep and it's also rushing at you. So you're kind of going up current, trying to paddle your way to the spots that Gore's picked inside this cave.
Funny way to get to the office, huh?
Some of our cast members we had to put in it, don't forget, are not young people. The gentleman plays Cotton is an old elderly man and so forth.
You okay? I'm fine. Good.
Immersed in water for 5 hours, 6 hours non-stop, and I mean non-stop. I'm kicking my ankles on submerged rocks time after time. But guess who were the only people standing up at the end of the first day? Kevin McNally and David Bailey. I mean, you've got to know that I'm 67 years old, and Gore had nothing better to do than give us close-ups, because everyone else had got off the shot.
How'd it go, sir? Exactly according to plan.
Like it took 2 days, but we did it, and I'm not going back in.
But the most fantastic place. And you know, one of the great things about filming this is you go to places that you would just never see. I mean, this is a gorge that's only 10 feet wide. It's a sheer rock face down into this beautiful clear water. So that's one of the upsides of shooting pirates.
I must say that is one of the best things about what we do in our business, is we travel the world, but we don't do it as tourists. We almost do it as we become semi-locals. And to be to these places like the island of Dominica, which is an incredibly beautiful place, but it's definitely off the beaten path. And to find yourself living way off the beaten path for a couple of months will change your life. It'll inspire you.
One other beautiful sunset in the Caribbean.
I mean, I knew from the off, once we got the scripts, and we also knew that we were doing 2 in a row, that A, you're saying goodbye willingly to a year of your life. And part of that is to go to places that you've never been and to, deal with the conditions as and how you find them. And it's not always easy, but it's the adventure, isn't it?
It's an adventure. It's just the adventurous spirit of the pirate movie. And in order to give the pirate movie that adventure, I think you need to have that adventure within yourself. And it's like being in a pirate movie half the time, jumping into water, jumping off beaches and off boats. You're actually living the ride, as they say.
Stand by.
Slide, please. Yeah, the bone cage sequence was,
Ready and action!
The bone cages are very inventive. They're a lot of fun. They were very difficult to get the structure that we needed and to make them solid enough that we could roll these people in it. It's, again, one of those things that looks great on a page and a script, but what do we make it out of? We make it out of steel, we make it out of metal, we make it out of rubber, we make it out of plastic. I mean, the designers will come up with something really interesting, but will it function? Will it work? Will it not collapse?
Looking forward to the ride?
No, but I'm here.
We literally harnessed them in there, strapped them in like sort of spiders in this ball, and assured them that they were going to have fun doing this.
Ready, and action!
It's an ungainly thing. We're literally, again, trying to do this without CGI. We're putting 6 people in each cage and rolling them down a hill. Ouch.
Well, we've been filming this cage for quite a while, and you know we've got a lot of mix of stuntmen and actors, and I think Gore decided he really wanted close-up of the actors screaming, so he thought the best way to do that was to put us inside, which he did, and no acting required.
Ready and action!
We pick up the cage and we're running with these cages, and when you have 6 people holding up a cage and running, it's like, you know, everybody's in there, and if one person makes a false move and trips, then everybody goes down and everybody's legs are between the cage, and so it's just, it was funny and a mess.
This is the last day in Dominica, and Gore's just trying to punish us. That's what it is.
It was pretty difficult to navigate with 6 people and 12 legs sticking out of this thing and trying to run in unison down there. I think everybody was happy about the work that they did, but also glad to see the last of the bone cages. It is the last, isn't it?
I am so excited about this last shot here in Dominica. I can't wait to call it. You see the hill up here? We're going to roll the bone cage all the way down the hill with dummies in it. It's going to jump this cliff, and we should go out with a bang.
Okay, ready?
Ready and action!
Fantastic. Keep going. I hope we kept going.
Yeah. Everybody's a little tense. Everybody wants off this rock.
I'm ready to get off this island of Dominica.
I feel tired and I want to get off this island. Somewhere flat, where there's no more hills to climb. Goodbye, Dominica. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. See you. Bye, Dominica.
This weekend, we are moving to the Exumas, which is the southern end of the Bahamas. And there, we're doing part of the start and the finish of our 3-way sword fight. Basically, out on this little island called White's Key that spends half the day underwater due to the tides. We will shuttle by boat every day to 2 large landing craft. From the landing craft, then we will restage to the location. So that'll be an interesting challenge there because everything has to come and go back by water.
Dominica, thank you.
You look like a roadie.
I feel like a roadie. I am a roadie.
And then we're on to Freeport, to the next location in the Bahamas, which is our tank location.
We don't know what this tank's going to look like. It definitely is not going to look like what we planned to, because there was a lot of problems. So it's not going to look like what we were expecting, like we thought it's going to look like, what, a year and a half ago when we were planning this. But still, you know, we're just hoping for a decent shelter that we can just anchor our boats and have access with all the equipment. And,
The original goal of the tank is to have control. You know, you can build these moorings at the bottom of the tank where you can tie down your ships and you can rock them and roll them and tear them apart, which you can't do out in the middle of the ocean.
We need the controlled situation of a tank, especially for our night work, where Derek needs to light those boats, backlight them from cranes, from barges. We need the protection of a tank for our sets.
You know, we've had so many meetings on this tank trying to figure out a way to make it work for us, and we've had other options, going to other islands, coming back to LA. But this is the most efficient way to do it if we could ever get it finished. But you never know what's going to happen with the weather or the workmanship, so we're cautiously optimistic of what's going to happen.